Beautiful. So good morning, everyone. I'm so thrilled to invite you and welcome you to the Accelerator call. If you are new to the Accelerators, if you've never been on one of our calls, we generally have them on Wednesdays. Could you just put number 1 in the chat so I know how many newbies we have? If you've never been on a call that I was leading, just put the number 1 in the chat so I know who is new. Norma is new, Rich is new, Angela is new, Bridget, Quentin, beautiful. Richard is new, beautiful. Thank you so much. Rakia, beautiful. Thank you so much. So what is the 1 for? If it's the first time on a call, David, this is not your first call.
Okay.
So you need one. You're fine. You're fine. But I just want to give you just really briefly, the Accelerator group was started in the beginning of 2020 when so many people were losing their jobs due to COVID. And we realized really quickly that we needed a community of job seekers who could support each other and help each other through this really difficult time. We had no idea at that time the pandemic was going to last over 2 years. We thought it was going to be a 6-month thing, but here we are 3 years later. And the Accelerator group has grown. I have been the career coach since the beginning of it for the accelerators. And I'm happy to say that every one of our accelerators that we started with, and we started with a small group of maybe 6, is currently working, which is amazing and remarkable. And we hope that one day everyone who's on the call today will become an alumni, because sometimes I ask our alumni to come and speak to us. I see Ann Heike. She was one of the originals. Welcome, Ann. So glad to see you here today. I just saw your face. Thank you so much for coming today. So if you're not yet a member of our private LinkedIn community, which is called the Accelerators, I'm going to ask Lori to put the link in. You can join our group for sure. And I encourage you to put your own LinkedIn URL in the chat and just tell us what kind of job you're looking for, because you never know who's on this call who might have that perfect opportunity for you. So if you could put that into the chat, that would be amazing. And I'm going to ask you for a special favor today. I have a company page called AIM Resource Group, which many of you are familiar with, because that's where I post all of these promos for our events. I noticed today I'm at 955 followers on my AIM Resource Group page. So if we could get 5 more people to follow AIM Resource Group, that would be amazing. And then I'll get to 1,000. Not sure what that'll do for me, but I like that number. It's a nice round number. And the next 5 people who go into AIM Resource Group and follow, I'm going to send you the Ultimate Job Search Checklist, which is a pretty cool document to have. So anyway, that's my little spiel for today. I just want to commend you all for being here with us today, because just the fact that you joined us today, that you registered, that you got the link, that you were able to join us today is a giant step forward, and you're doing one more thing than all of your competition is doing today. So I'd like you all to give yourself a round of applause. I don't want to see you all applauding yourselves because this is your next great action step. Every action begets another action. We're going to talk a lot about that today for sure. We host monthly events. We hope that you will join us every month. The events are always free. Next month, March 1st, just jot that on your calendar. We're going to be speaking with Emily Hay, who's going to talk about freelancing and how freelancing can set you free. So if you've ever thought about consulting, if you've ever thought that maybe you have a skill and maybe you could supplement your income with some freelancing or consulting gigs, and this is the call for you. I don't want you to miss it. That's March 1st on, again, 11 o'clock. We always hold them at 11 o'clock. The registration link is already available, and you can register for that. It's on the AIM Resource Group page. And I think Lori will also put the link into the chat, so you'll have that. Remember, please, to copy the chat. Just hit those 3 dots so that you have the chat to refer to back after we're done. What else do I have to remind you about? Golden nuggets. Anyone who's been on our call before knows that we like to capture golden nuggets of learning. So I believe that Kenneth Lang is going to give us tons of golden nuggets, things that we're going to learn that we didn't know before. And if something speaks to you, I want you to put it in the chat with the big capital letters nugget. And I'm going to take those nuggets after the call, and I'm going to create a post so that anyone who perhaps missed the call, who couldn't be here for whatever reason, maybe they're interviewing today, maybe they couldn't make the call, they're going to get to see some of those nuggets of learning that we appreciated, and it's from your point of view. So appreciate the nuggets. Today, I'm going to be speaking with Kenneth Lang, and Kenneth and I met on Brenda Miller's VIP call. I know a lot of you are on that call with us. And Kenneth and I see Jude, welcome Jude, are among, what did she call us? The
LinkedIn rock stars, I think.
The rock stars, superstars, I forgot what she calls us. But anyway, we're on Brenda's call every Friday to, again, help job seekers to learn things that perhaps they didn't know before, to answer questions, and to really get you started on your way to your next amazing job. Today, Kenneth is going to share how he went from being an introvert to becoming one of the top 100 LinkedIn voices, which is amazing. Top 100 that's amazing and great for you. We share a common love of helping job seekers. And since we're both introverts, we understand the power that this LinkedIn platform has provided to us. I can't say enough about the LinkedIn platform. It's just been amazing. From my own experience, when I was working as Director of Human Resources, I had no idea that I was supposed to be cultivating my own personal brand. That never occurred to me. I was busy doing my job and helping other people, improve their careers. It never occurred to me that I needed to work on my own. And so when I was laid off, this was quite a few years ago, I went to LinkedIn and I saw I only had about 125 connections, and I knew right away that was not going to be enough for me to connect with people to get another job, So I started networking like crazy, and my goal was to hit that 500 plus number. That's my goal. The first thing I did is I went to my Rolodex. Oh, wait a minute. Does everyone know what a Rolodex is? If you know what a Rolodex is, I don't want to be dating myself. If you know what a Rolodex is, just put the word yes in that chat, please. I want to know, because there may be people who do not know what a Rolodex is. In the olden days, we had a thing with names, and it was like your contact list. Anyway, so I see most of you know what it is. Okay, good. Aha, his grandparents told him. Thank you very much. Makes me feel great. So I went and I looked at my past contacts. That's how I got to 500, and I did it, I think, within maybe 3 or 4 months. But in any event, that's how I got started. So I'm going to ask Kenneth to let us know how he got started on LinkedIn, and maybe a little bit about his story and how he became one of these illustrious 100.
Well, the honest to God truth is that I didn't ask for it. It actually came to me with this. And just to let everyone know here, even though I'm an introvert, I can be extroverted at times. I can be extroverted if I'm with my family, if I'm with my best friends. But the challenge is this: when you're on a platform like LinkedIn or somewhere else, how do you set yourself apart? I think a lot of us talk about something called imposter syndrome. We're so afraid to post something. We're so afraid to do something. We read what other people are saying. We say, how can we say something? What's going to happen? And my mindset has become over time, first of all, you've got nothing to lose by posting. You've got nothing to lose by connecting. But the ironic thing is that so many of us are actually introverts, and you wouldn't know it by how we're going about it. I mean, I was, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this, before a call or anything else, you kind of get, you freak out a little bit. You want to make sure your connections are set up. You want to make sure that you're in a good place. And then when the calls are over, you want to just exhale. And what I ended up doing during the pandemic is I actually blocked time out of my calendar, me time, when you could not get a hold of it, maybe an hour or 2 hours. And it was a way for me to just kind of get back to some sense of normalcy. And what I've started to do the last couple of years is talked about the job search experience from an introvert standpoint. And ironically enough, the first post I did, actually, when I came out and admitted I was an introvert, got a lot of people like, oh my God, it's me, it's me, it's me. And I kind of said, it's okay to talk about this here. It's not a bad thing at all. And then I started to realize that most people who do job search don't know how to do things. They're afraid to. So I actually did a post today, which was came out of the call yesterday with Brenda. And we were just talking about the hidden job market and Brenda Miller. And we were just having a chat. And I thought to myself, you know what? Don't assume that people know what the hidden job market is. And don't, and I did a post today, actually kind of thinking about today. I said the hidden job market can be, and I listed all these things. And I said, if you're looking for help, be very specific on what you want. I mean, everyone wants a job, everyone wants something, but you've got to be very specific so you know how people can help you. And the hidden job market exists in all different ways, but that's only a small part of it. And I think the biggest thing that most of us introverts are afraid of is either you're afraid of failure or you're waiting for perfection, which is not going to happen. You want that post to be perfect. You want to make sure that you have your best foot forward, but you're human. And the first time I realized I had to get out of my shell was when I had a conversation with Lauren Greif. I don't know if any of you know Lauren Greif. We actually were on a common call back in 2020. And I thought, well, you know what? This person looks really interesting. Let's just connect. And then we had a call. And the next thing you know, I'm talking to her and she's running around the kitchen and she's doing 500 things at once. And I'm like, oh my God, can you please sit still, Lauren? But she was very passionate. And then we came up with a thing, not introvert, extrovert. We became yin yang. And that became a thing we did for about a year or so. We said, you're the yin to my yang. And we would just kind of check in with each other because she didn't know as an extrovert how she was coming across in a certain way. And I didn't know how, as an introvert, how I was coming across. So it's okay to be who you are. Introvert is just a label. Don't be afraid to post. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Everyone on this call is taking the biggest first step. And the way you can really set yourself apart is when you lose a job or you lose something, you haven't lost your identity. You're still who you are before. Can't be afraid to comment. You can't be afraid to engage. You can't worry about the numbers. And I know that I don't worry about the numbers. Some people do. There are so many things against you, but you want to take it as an advantage. And I'd be curious to know, one of the things I wanted to share today later on was how this chat GPT, this artificial intelligence works. The ironic thing about it is from an introvert standpoint, it's absolutely amazing to see it in real time because you actually have an ability to brainstorm with a bot about stuff. But I'd be curious to get a sense, if you want to share your experiences, this is a safe place. Believe me, as I'm sitting here now, I'm already thinking about what I'm going to say and what I'm going to do. And it's not always easy for me to be me. It's almost like with the Kermit, it's not always being green. Well, it's not always being an introvert. And I'll say, jump in the water is fine. I say that as much for myself as I do for others, because I need that self-validation. I have a profile which speaks to who I am, but at heart, I'm someone that just wants to have conversations. And what I've learned is that if you take out the words, networking is having conversations. Networking conversations can be anywhere and everywhere. The hardest thing to do is to go up to a stranger. So start with people you know. You don't know who they know. Some of the best connections I've made have just happened running errands and things. And you also want to make sure your family knows what you're looking to do. But above all, when you're doing an elevator pitch or you're doing something like that, you got to keep it simple. I can tell you what I do from an IT perspective. And a lot of other IT people would totally understand that. When I share that with my family, they kind of roll their eyes like, what do you really do? So you have to kind of position it, you're a problem solver, something like that. But above all, I would recommend you practice with other introverts. Have an introvert conversation. When I started my Tuesday afternoon things, there were 5 of us on the call. We were all introverts. And I said, let's just have a chat. And it was during the pandemic. And we started chatting. And I said, it would be a really good idea. Let's, as each of us go up there and just practice a little bit of a demonstration about what we do, an elevator pitch of some sort for the 5 or 6 of us there. We're going to be kind to each other. And everyone was like, this is cool. So I see David, can I say something? I'm having conversations among introverts. Fine with me. I mean, maybe this is your call. Absolutely.
Sure. Anyone who
Sure,
wants to ask a question or make a comment, just lift your hand up under the reaction button so that we'll bring you up to the top so we can see you. So David, did you have a question?
Well, it's more of a comment, actually. I once had started this local meetup group for introverts, and it kind of crashed and burned. I mean, there was like 3 people the first meeting, then it went down to 2, then it went down to 1. And a month or 2 later, a few months later, I just canceled it. But it's like you had a few people around the table who didn't know what to say, kind of thing. So I don't know that conversations with fellow introverts necessarily work. You need a mix, someone to keep it going.
So this is my experience with dealing with introverts. They're always afraid to start a conversation, but once you get comfortable, once an introvert gets comfortable with the person they're speaking with, they build relationships like crazy. And so I like to think about networking as just one-on-one conversations. I much prefer to speak one-on-one to person than in a large group. And that is what networking is. It's starting to build conversations one-on-one and I like to call it planting little seeds in the ground so that you can then have beautiful flowers bloom like a gorgeous garden. It's just one person at a time. And that's what introverts are really good at. And that's building one-on-one relationships. And that's what networking is also. So for me, when I say I'm networking, I could be just having a conversation with you right now, David, or with Kenneth, or with Tara. We'll talk to her in a moment. Or I could be talking to a big group. It's all about the building of relationships and building trust. And introverts, I think, have a good capacity for building those relationships and building trust. And so if that meetup didn't work, David, maybe there's another vehicle that might work better. To me, I think that LinkedIn has been such a miracle because during COVID, when we couldn't really get out, it was a wonderful way to network. And I built so many great connections with people all around this country. From my desk. I never, left my desk for a year and a half or 2. And yet I made such great connections and people who I really consider very close friends at this point.
I would also say,
conversations.
when the pandemic started, there was an app called Clubhouse. And Clubhouse was a place where you could actually join Clubhouse. You could be at home, and it was basically an audio chat, kind of like what LinkedIn audio is now.
Mhm.
And I would join the chat with other people that had something in common with me. And we were just chatting about anything and everything. It was kind of like when you just got together on a Saturday or a Sunday afternoon, and we would vent and we would just talk and we would just chat. And the funny thing about it is that in time, we became, and again, I don't want to say friends per se, but I feel like I came to know a lot about each of the people. And I think the biggest fear that I had going in, honestly, was being on a camera like this. Are you kidding? People looking at me, people questioning me. And then I realized, what, so what? I mean, what's the worst thing that happens? And I think there's that fear, that internal fear that you have about anything. And it's a normal human trait. For me, I'm speaking from personal experience. I grew up, I was the person that wanted to be in his room for hours on time reading a book. I didn't want to deal with other people just because I didn't care. I was a bashful kid. To some extent, I still am now. I need my me time, and there's nothing wrong with that. And there are times as an introvert, you become an extrovert because you have to be. When you're looking for a job, you can't be introverted, but it's how you go about it. The group I did initially was 5 people I knew. 5 people I knew that would come to the meeting. But even though it was on Zoom, I knew them, and they would come and we would support each other. And that's the important thing. I mean, if you create a group on Meetup, let people know about that we're going to show up. And sometimes introverts are just afraid to show up. Sometimes they don't want to show up. Sometimes they want to be labeled. The point is you have no control over that. So I think, that's a big part of it. Just be out there and do things. So Tara, I'm catching up from yesterday. Welcome. Do you want to add anything?
Hi, that's okay. I'm actually an extrovert who found out that I'm also an introvert because I need to recharge. But my question actually is there a way that extroverts like myself can help introverts?
Yes,
Yeah,
listen
listen.
before you respond all the time.
Mhm.
I
I
think
have
to
another
some,
one. I have another one.
right,
Don't cut people off. Because extroverts have a lot to say and they want to say it really quickly and they assume that everything they're saying is super important. But introverts need maybe an extra beat, a pause to get into the conversation. And so I thank you for that question, Tara, because it's super important and not everyone understands that everyone reacts differently in a conversation. I had a client once who was extremely shy, extremely introverted, and she was being passed over for jobs over and over again within her company. She wanted to rise in the ladder in her own company, but they said to her that until you are going to be a team lead, you can't get anything better. And I said, what is holding you back from leading your team, doing one meeting? She says, I'm just afraid. What if I say the wrong thing? I said, volunteer, raise your hand one time and see how it goes. And she did. And you know what she came back to me with the next week? She said, it was so remarkable. It was so remarkable that I understood what these people were saying because I actually let them talk. And the person who normally leads the group doesn't ever let them talk. And she went on to do great things in her company. And it was just a matter of getting out of her own way and out of her own head.
Yeah, so I agree completely with you. I think what I was wondering is how I can help introverts who might be searching for a job, who might be trying to connect, who, is there a way that I can help those folks come out of their shell a little bit? Is there a way that I can help them in their day-to-day? You know,
we have introverts on the call, so why don't you
maybe they can help.
respond?
Yeah. David Mills is raising his hand.
David's
Not my
raising
job to call on him, but
Go ahead, David.
Yeah, so was it Tara or somebody who asked how as an extrovert, you can help introverts? I just had to speak to that. The best way to help us introverts is to, make your point or ask your question, but then pause, stop speaking for a while. You can't just have a ongoing hurricane of words. Stop speaking and give us a chance to respond. It's not so bad online because we're mostly it's mostly text. But if you're like on a Zoom call and you're just talking a blue streak and you got all these other things to say, I feel sometimes with some people I never have a chance to get my thoughts out or get my words out. So just pause now and then and wait for us to to say something. We generally have something pertinent to say. That would be my suggestion.
Thank you, David. I'm going to add something to that because I want to segue with Kenneth back to LinkedIn a little bit, because for introverts, sometimes it's hard for them to start posting. And we talk about all the time how it's important to have visibility on LinkedIn. And so to Tara's question, if you see someone who puts a post up and is having the courage to post something on LinkedIn, then take a moment to comment and help them along with that post, because it's very disconcerting when you publish a post and no one interacts with you. It's so comforting when you see someone interact. And I try and interact with Kenneth Lang's posts. He posts every day. And I appreciate it when people interact with my posts as well. And so thinking about that, Kenneth, can you help us and people on the call, let's talk a little bit about how to get involved on LinkedIn and how to start commenting and creating posts. What's your best advice for that?
Well, I think first of all, you want to have a strategy. You don't have to post every day so much, but you want to have at least post once a week to start, maybe twice a week. But even more than that, it's about engaging in other people's posts. Some of the best connections and relationships have come about from looking at someone else's post that you see and commenting on it. And that becomes the common way that you can connect. And if you can't find a specific post, then LinkedIn News in the top right of the home feed has all these different articles. So you might find an article there that's relevant. The hardest thing to do, honestly, is to get started. And if you're really, really stuck on getting started, then create a poll. When you create a poll, as the first thing you do is you drop down and ask a question, an open-ended question, which isn't going to be a yes or no. And then as people respond to the poll, connect with them. And it can be anything that you're thinking about. Because in the beginning, it is not just about engagement. In an ideal world, you always want to get likes and comments and all that, but it's just to get started posting. And if you're not sure what to post, start with sharing a little bit about yourself. Talk about the fact if you're looking for a job, what type of job you're looking for, how people can help you specifically. Don't forget, people don't know who you are unless you engage with them. You're only as good as your about section and the profile is. But one of the posts that I made, and it's a true post, that got a lot of attention was on when I did a venting post about email worst practices. And this was a while ago. I said, I really hate it when I get an email that's gone through 7 times of reply, and I forgot what people had to say. And people started commenting like that because it was a common thing you have in common with everyone. We all have different things we're going through now. If you can't find something to post, honestly, do a post and say, what do you think is a good idea for a post? I mean, don't overthink it.
I love that. Kenneth, I want to definitely get to the chat GPT today. I want to hear what Norma is going to ask or share with us. And then I'm just going to tee you up with that if you need to do something to get ready, okay?
Sure.
Norma? Hi, how are you today?
Hi. I'm good. I'm originally from Philadelphia, and we've been in Chicagoland for over 35 years. I just wanted, and as you can see in my background, my suitcases are ready to go on vacation. I'm ready to take off at any time. I post. I'm an extrovert. I do post, and I find it interesting now as opposed to when I first got on LinkedIn. I've been on LinkedIn for years. What do you have to follow people in order to see the post? And the reason I asked that is I put out a very significant post on Friday about the Holocaust Remembrance Day. And my husband and I had this fabulous trip last year, and we learned about Norway's Anne Frank. And people who I respond to on a regular basis never responded to it. I just thought that was very interesting. Did they have to follow me to see it? And I posted other things, but we never expected we were on this trip and enjoying it, and then this came up. And I've posted other things. So do people need to follow you to see your posts?
There's different levels of this. First of all, depending on how the person has set their settings up, they may see posts from everyone. They may see posts from first connections. That's on them. So if the larger your network is, the better likelihood it is of being seen. But at the same time, if you're just writing a post with text and you don't comment and you don't tag a couple of people that you want to see it, and that's with the @ sign, I wouldn't even know about the post until you told me now, and I would have loved to have commented on it. And other people might have too. Hashtags, that's a whole different thing, but find 5 or 6 people, even in this group here. Everyone in this group, if you all kind of tag each other, 3 or 4 of you at a time, it's just going to build out the engagement. And then once you get comments, LinkedIn loves it when you reply back to comments and don't just let it sit there. No, and so it's a long game too. Like I said, you told me about something which I would love to share about. Now, the idea of, and it's true, everyone has that bell on their profile. So if you ring that bell, you're supposedly going to get notified about when they post. I've had posts that have gone south really quickly. They've been horrible, and I've wondered why. Truth is, I have no idea. I mean, you can only just keep
Yeah.
plugging away. So, I mean, it may not be the answer you want to hear, but it's the best answer I can give. But like I said, tag a few of us and we'll know about it. And then maybe we can tag other people and just never know.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay.
I have had various levels of success with the bell. I think sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. So I wouldn't rely on that, but certainly tagging a couple of people, I think is a good idea.
Well,
Definitely.
that's great because there are certain people that I follow all the time. So I was surprised they didn't comment, but I had hashtags and pictures too.
But you can also tag, you can tag people on the post that are not your first connections, don't forget. You're not limited to your network. So if you want someone to see it now, again, the more people you tag and that don't respond, that affects things. But I've tagged people that are not my first connections that I think would like to see it. And from a job seeker perspective, do that as well. You know, find people that you want to see the post.
Thank you.
Sam, would you like to add something?
Yeah, thanks for calling me out on the extrovert that talks too much. Anyway, I will try and pause. Yeah, no, yeah, it is true. We like the sound of our own voice. Anyways, I did want to ask a question about posting and have you ever had a post that like turns into a dumpster fire?
All the time, all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. And what does that do to your like reputation or whatever? Like, I mean, you have a great reputation, obviously on LinkedIn, but
It used to get really, I used to get very upset about it. Now I could care less, because what happens is some of the posts that are out there have a great staying power. I mean, you have the ability now when you go to your feed and when you go to your analytics, you can see how your last few posts are all doing for like the last week or the last month. And I think there's this instant gratification mindset that a lot of us have. You know, you do a post in the first hour, hey, how come only 10 people saw it? Well, think about it when you're posting it. The people that you want to see the post aren't up yet, or they have other things going on. There's no one right or wrong way to post. You can talk to 50 of us and we'll give you 50 different bits of advice, but I think we all agree we've had posts that have been horrible that we thought were good. And sometimes you may find a week later you can do the same post and it'll get a lot of traction. And I've done that before. I mean, the whole idea of repurposing our content. I mean, I repurpose content all the time because different people are going to see it at different times. Don't assume because you did it one time, everyone is going to see it. And that's an underutilized tool, is to repurpose content.
Hey, Kenneth, can you speak to about Norma had the question about that post that went south. Would it be helpful for her to repost it, or is the repost like a bad thing? I've heard that you get really low engagement.
Well, the best thing you can do, if you have a post that went south, you don't want to repurpose. I wouldn't repost it per se. What you never want to do is delete a post. Don't delete a post that's gone south, because it's still in LinkedIn's algorithm. Best thing to do is just kind of take a break. Sometimes it has nothing to do with you. You know, LinkedIn plays favorites. When you do a post, the LinkedIn algorithm does a test. It sends it out to a few people or a small percentage of your network. And it's once they engage, then they will send it out to more people. So just because you send a post out doesn't mean it's going out to every one of your connections. LinkedIn is kind of playing it's like A/B testing, and you don't know who's getting which post. I think someone just put the comment, find a good time. I post every morning, first of all, because it's easier for me. You also can schedule posts in advance now. So if it's Wednesday and I'm going to be away for a couple of days, I can schedule posts in advance to run. But above all, it's all about engagement. You know, you're going to have, all of us have had more failures than successes. And I don't get caught up on the numbers anymore. It's not that I don't want high numbers, but it's not relevant to me. I'd rather talk to a few people and have a closer network. You know, people that have thousands upon thousands of connections. What is the size of your actual network that you can reach out to? Probably 50, 100, maybe 150. So that's the important thing. You know, you want to have your specific network. So I hope that answers the question.
I want to say something about the scheduling, which I absolutely love, because I do a lot of work on Sundays and I don't necessarily want to post all my work on Sunday, so I can schedule it out. But what you need to be careful about is that you still got to engage with that post. So people start commenting on it and you forgot that you posted it for, I don't know, Tuesday at 9 a.m. and you're off doing something else and you don't come back to see it until 4 o'clock. That post is not going to do that well. So
And
just,
I actually did a post this week, and it's a true story. I had something scheduled to go, and I forgot that I had scheduled to go. So I was all set after that. So I said, oops, look at the mistake I just made. Because a lot of it we just do training that way. We
Mhm.
just don't know. And sometimes we share our learnings. I mean, I've made mistakes, we've all made mistakes, and it makes you that much more of a genuine person. You know, I think people don't mind that. You know, we don't all have to be on best, triple best behavior. I mean, we're all human.
All right, so talking about posts, we all
Uh-huh.
know about this Chat GPT, and Kenneth is going to show us the magic. How many people, but just put in the chat for a moment, how many people know about this Chat GPT?
Okay, well,
A couple. All right, so we're going to see it in action. The
Shit,
first time
right.
I saw this, it just blew my mind. I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
all right. First of all, it's open to
Okay.
anyone and everyone, provided you have time. The way it works is this: you can type a question in here and it will come back with an answer to the question based on its intelligence. So, for example, like, does the group want me to ask the chat a question? I'll put it that way, because we can do it that.
Here it goes. So
Okay.
here's the question, Kenneth.
Yeah. Yep.
How about, how do I write the best resume?
Okay.
Oh. Okay, let's try a different one.
No, I'm gonna try. I think I know what might have.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that is the technology.
Yes.
So I'm gonna go.
Hi,
There we
Sharon
go.
says-
There we go. There we go.
Yeah,
There we
doesn't know
go.
either. Oh, here we go.
No. How? What was it? What was the question?
My question was, how do you write the best resume?
Okay, here we go. Chat. Go
Now
for it.
watch what happens.
What chat is doing in the meantime is going through all of its research and things, and if it has an answer to the question, it will respond. So,
Kenneth, while this thing is thinking, can you put the link to Chat GPT?
I will, yes.
Okay.
And I'm actually gonna refresh the screen in a second.
And
And
I don't know if you saw before, it said they're experiencing heavy volume, so they may be taking.
they're always doing
Yeah. All right, let's pick a different question.
that.
Someone want to give us a question?
No, it's nothing to do with the question. It's to do with how busy it is. So if I can't get this done, I'm going to show you things I've done before. For example, in the chat, I had a question: best way to get a job. So I did over here. I actually invited the chat to attend the meeting. So I said to the chat, "Can I invite you to attend a meeting?" And it said, "I'm sorry, but I'm an artificial intelligence and not able to physically attend a meeting. So would you like to do a demo for the group?" So it was an actual conversation that we had about that, and I did other things as well. So when chat is acting up, you have to keep trying and trying. Why? Okay. Tell me about yourself.
Okay.
How do I answer? Tell me about you. Only one message at a time. Right? I know that. Silly chat.
So you should know, everyone, that it's a test platform. So it's not reacting
Yeah.
the way it probably will once, I'm assuming they're going to make us pay for it at some point. Right now it's free and they're
Yeah.
testing.
Well, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go back in actually.
Okay, good idea.
Okay. Here we go. Try ChatGPT. we're experiencing. How do I answer now? And when it
Can't
doesn't
mind-
answer like this, it's just because there's so much traffic going on. I mean, I do this a lot of times at night, and that's why I'm just gonna let it go here now, because apparently with the network being the way it is. Here we go.
Here we go.
The simple structure you can follow. Start with a brief introduction. I mean, and so this is going on with a question I just asked. And I'll put up another question after that.
Kenneth, this high traffic volume reminds me of when I got my first computer years ago, and you couldn't get onto AOL except for like 10 o'clock at night. Remember?
Right,
That's what this reminds me of. We had to wait our turn to get on.
okay. So what does a good resume look like? There we go.
There you go.
And you can ask all different questions. I mean, it doesn't have to be job search. I mean, so,
Teresa remembers dial-up modems. I remember that.
yes,
Oh my gosh. All right, so there's a couple of questions, Kenneth, if you could address them.
I'm just gonna, I mean, hopefully it answers that, but in the meantime, go ahead, I'll,
So
whatever
the
quick
question, can you just describe, yes, they love the old AOL days. What is this chat? I kind of, I guess, skipped a beat. I assume most people have heard of it. Can you just define it for us, Kenneth?
Sure.
Or tell us what's
Here
going
we go,
on?
here we go.
Jeffrey Brace, I remember all my discs. At some point, I ended up throwing them out. I didn't know what to do with them.
So after this is finished, I'll just go back and,
Okay.
but I mean, this is, again, now you can look this up and here's the ingredients and the biggest question now is that a lot of schools are afraid that people use this to write papers and do things. So all right, so I'm just gonna stop sharing. So what it is, and I'm gonna put this in the chat, the actual thing here. So ChatGPT. This is the link to it right here. You don't need to pay for this now.
Yeah.
You go there and it's basically, if you know how Siri works and you know how all those voice activated things work, you ask a question and it gives you a response back. That's kind of how this platform is. You can ask it anything and everything you want. There are some downsides. First of all, it's only updated as of 2020 for now. So anything that's changed since then, it may not know the answer to, but it's a great tool from a job seeker perspective. If you want to prepare in advance, like how would I answer this question? How would I answer that question? Or how would I discuss a career gap or something? It's a great brainstorming tool if it's used properly. And I know a lot of recruiters are actually testing this tool out to see how things would work for them. It doesn't cost anything to join. As you can see, the challenge sometimes is when it's most crowded, but the possibilities are endless, and Microsoft is actually purchasing it now. So think about it. You're asking a question and you're getting an answer back in real time, and it can be to anything and everything. Now, I'm doing a discussion next Tuesday with George Pace about this, but that was my demo. So I just wanted to get a sense after that demo about what you guys think about that. I mean, I know Mindy, you saw it this week for the first time. What do you think?
So I think it's remarkable. The first time I saw it, I just broke out laughing because I work so hard on my posts. So it could take me an hour to 2 to create this beautiful post. And if I wanted to write, all the elements of a great resume, I would sit down and actually write it. Now this AI did it in what? 30 seconds, not even.
Seconds.
So there are things that it can do. And actually it is, it makes me feel a little bit like I might become redundant. Like, why do they have to ask me if they can go to ChatGPT? Here's the thing. You've got to give it your own voice, number one. You've got to put your own spin on these things because everyone's going to start using this, and then everyone who puts it out is going to sound exactly the same. So you've got to put your own voice on it, number one. Number two, you better check your facts, because if you're going to put something factual out, you better be sure that the facts are correct. Right? We don't want to put anything that's not correct. And I do know that there are schools that are forbidding students to use the ChatGPT, which is, because they want their kids to learn. They want them to start figuring it out. But it's like telling kids, that when the computers first came into play, you can't use a computer. You have to type it out.
Or a calculator or something.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. If you know about the technology, this is where all the jobs are going to be. You need to have people who are actually programming it and developing it and writing requirements and things. I mean, it's only as good as the content it gets. So the more you know about it, these are some of the jobs that may come up. And don't assume just because you have certain experience in your past, you can't learn how to do this. Developers are a dime a dozen. Trust me on that. It's about the human element. So I do think that that's something that so the more I know about things, the easier it is for me, not just to share them, but to understand them. So and that's why I'm always learning. That's why I always suggest that everyone else be learning. And learning is great for an introvert because I can just sit here and type stuff and don't have to worry about, getting, hand slapped or something. But above all, it's about trying new things, for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you tell me, I can try to go back to chat. We can I can take more questions. I want to be respectful of everyone's time too.
Yeah, sure. We have about 5 minutes left. Questions for Kenneth Lang. This is your opportunity to ask. Don't be shy, introverts.
I don't bite.
No.
I'll tell you the one thing I haven't done yet is I haven't done a lot of videos because I'm scared to death about putting a video out of myself.
Hey.
So this basically.
I
What?
forgot what I called you for. that was a while ago though.
You need to be linked on ChatGPT to something, whether it's a Google account or Facebook or something else. But you're using that login. You're not creating, I don't believe, a separate GPT account. But there's other tools. There's other tools like that out there. And
Kenneth, I logged in this morning, the first time.
Okay.
And I just gave my phone number. That was it.
I mean, but you could have it write you a letter of reference. You could have it do anything and everything you want, but the goal is use that as a starting point.
Right.
Because there's technology out there that will definitely figure that out. But if you don't know where to start, ask the question there.
Yeah, it's another tool.
Ask like how you would handle a break in your career or whatever is specific to you. So I see Sam just asked his first question. Sam, how did it go? Did you get the answer back already?
Yep, I did.
Good.
I have my first post.
And if you don't mind me asking, what was the question? What
are the hottest topics in HR right now? And I got 5 answers, so I'm going to do up a little post later.
There you go.
So, Kenneth, I just think that this is such a great way to get introverts to start branching out and feeling confident to write a post. So if that will make, Sam's not an introvert, but she may be hesitant, even as an extrovert, she may be hesitant to post, right? But now she has content, which is what we all look for. Great to have content, and start putting your own spin on it, put your own point of view on these things. And so you don't sound like a robot, and then just put it out there and take a couple of us, Sam, so we can respond to it and comment on it, okay?
And seriously, if someone wants to do a video of how they're doing a ChatGPT post, that would be amazing. I mean, I'm showing it to you now. Again, do a post. This is how ChatGPT works. It's a post. I mean, and whether I do it or not, someone else should, because people I showed you in a couple of minutes how to do it. There's millions of people that don't know the first thing about it. So again, just go for it.
So I love this. Dina is inspired to start posting. I love that, Dina. Congratulations.
Definitely. And tag me when you post. Not,
Yes,
I mean,
tag
just so that
me.
and tag all of us so we
Definitely
know you
tag me,
posted.
Dina, so that I can comment on it and so you get some more traction, okay?
Yeah, I
Oh,
And then
just,
do on the,
sorry, I
What?
just wanted to
What's up?
mention when you, that I'm an extrovert and like, I mean, I do post. I don't know if you guys see them because I don't seem to get a lot of traction on a lot of my posts, but I don't tag people. I have to start doing that. But the thing that stops me from posting is the time investment because you have to come up with content like, you know, and you want to stick with a certain brand if you're looking for a job, right? Like you got to stick in your sphere. You don't want to just post anything. So yeah, I mean, those are the things that I run into when it comes to posting. It's really just a time thing. It's like, where do you invest your time when you're looking for a job? Right?
So you have two new tools today, Sam. One is you can schedule it. So when you have time, even if it's in the middle of the night, whenever you're up, you can schedule something. So don't worry about the time. You don't have to be exactly at Tuesday at 10 o'clock to be ready to post. And two, you have the Chat GPT who will write something for you. And I haven't started using it yet. I might, I don't know. I have to think about it. I just feel like I want it to be authentic. I want it to be me. So I'm going to test it out a little bit before I use it. But I know people are definitely using it and it will be the future for us, I think.
I mean, you can even take a Chat GPT response and say, this is what it said, this is what it sent me back. This is where I agree or whether or disagree with it. This is my take on it. Use that as the mechanism to start the post.
I like
Ask GPT this question. Here's my take on it. And then you kind of kill two birds with one stone. It's let all these tools help you out a lot.
Love it. That's a great idea. I love it. All right.
Right.
So good. So, oh, Sandra.
Sandra,
So my question is, do we put, when we make a post, do we put it exactly what they said? Or do we change it up to suit us?
you want to put it in your voice. You can put it in your voice. If you put a Chat GPT, you can take a paragraph from it on there, but you should mention something about it. Just do a cut and paste. A lot of people are actually doing that.
Okay.
Use it as a springboard.
Yeah.
Because it's just going to give you ideas. I'm not saying don't use some of the content, but acknowledge, at least acknowledge on the post that some of it came from Chat GPT,
Okay,
just for transparency.
okay. So I'm not plagiarizing what it exactly said.
Well, no, I mean, but even so, you want it to be in your voice. I mean, this is a computer coming back to you, artificial intelligence based on what people are programmed. It may not be what you say, it may give you the ideas, but it may not be the way you say it.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I would definitely add your point of view, Sandra, because that's what's interesting to people, right? Anyone can Google, how do I write a resume?
Okay,
You can Google that and get it. So why do they need to read your post? But giving your perspective of it, that's unique to you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Agreeing or disagreeing or supporting it, even whatever works.
okay, thank you both.
Oh,
Sure.
my pleasure, my pleasure.
Yep.
My pleasure. All right, we're at the top of the hour. This is such a great call, Kenneth. I think we have a ton of nuggets. Do we have time for one more question? Eleanor, go. We have time for one more.
So you did mention you could just Google this. So how do you see GPT different than just using Google?
Well, Google is coming up with its own Chat GPT very soon. So they're going to be competing packages. I mean, I don't know how good Google's AI is or not. I mean, this is like the new shiny thing, if you will. There's always a shiny thing that comes out and gets everyone's attention. This is the new shiny thing until the next shiny thing comes out, and the next shiny thing comes out after that. So we're all kind of taking advantage of it now just to show you how it works. You could try Google and you could actually do a post on the difference between Google and Chat GPT. I did it both ways. This is what I found, and it becomes that post that way. I mean, if you ask me a question, you should make that up as part of a post, you know.
I see Kenneth Lang's brain working. He's thinking of his next 5 posts. They're already halfway written by Chet.
Well, I can help you
As
out.
we're doing this, while we're on the call, he's already
No.
written his posts for tomorrow, for sure. That's very good. I
But for
think
me,
we're
it's
gonna
all
start-
about the ideas. I get some of my best ideas from other people's posts, and I acknowledge that. I mean, that's how we all help each other out. I mean, there's no sense to reinvent the wheel. I mean, I'm throwing ideas out just as I'm thinking about them. I probably won't post on a lot of them, but you know, it's just what happens.
Beautiful. That's great. So great. If you
Yeah.
guys could put one thing in the chat that you think you learned from today, that would be amazing. And I'll grab all those also. One thing that you learned today that maybe you didn't know before, that would be great. That's how Kenneth and I, we get joy from things that
Yeah.
people learn when the light bulbs start going off.
Yep. It was such a great idea for you to have me demonstrate ChatGPT, because it's so much easier to see this in real time than to just.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So ChatGPT for sure is something new. Someone wrote, learn from other people's ideas. Absolutely. Oh, scheduling posts. Really, that's a cool thing. I love that. Deeper insight regarding posting and new. Demonstration. That's what they love. The bell. Okay, that's new for some people. Love it. Love it. ChatGPT for Anne. Anne, I'm wondering how you're going to use that.
I think it's a great way to get some ideas.
Exactly. That's how I'm thinking about it. A good way to, instead of Googling, get some ideas. That's pretty good.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
We tested it out this morning. I'll tell you a secret. My husband said, ask it to write a love letter to you and see how it does. It was so good. It was so sweet.
Which reminds me, you could ask, what should I get my wife for Valentine's Day?
Oh, yeah. You can
Or
ask.
husband or significant other. I mean, seriously. When you don't know what to get someone, that's
Absolutely.
the AI. Yes.
This is great. Was it better than what my husband had written? I don't know. We have to get him to write it first. But I think he would write something good also. But now we can take right from here and he doesn't have to spend time. It was really great.
Yeah.
All right.
All
All
right.
right. I thank you so much for spending your morning with us. It has been fun and great. I have a ton of great nuggets to share with everyone and for my next post, probably tomorrow, hopefully. I thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to sign up for March 1 if you want to hear about how to start consulting. The do's, the don'ts, the ins, the outs. What do you have? What passion do you have that you could learn to get money for, even while you're waiting to get your next job? That's actually how I started. I said, gee, I know a lot of HR stuff. I could help companies while I'm looking for my next job. And then it just snowballed and I ended up making a company. Yes, I could schedule the post for tomorrow. I have to first write it. See, here's the good thing, Kenneth. If I could ask ChatGPT, can you tell me all the nuggets that Kenneth Lang and Mindy Stern wrote that delivered on this call? And that would be something good.
The funny thing is, you could even ask the chat if it knows who you are. I mean, I know what the answer is, but it's just a fun tool.
Yeah. We'll have to play with it a little bit. And it's like a sandbox right now, guys. So play in the sandbox a little bit, make it your own, see if you like it. It's just another tool for you to help you.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you all. I'm going to end the call. I thank you so much for being here and I hope to see you again soon.